Family, you don't get to pick the one you get. Just gotta love the one you got.
Welcome back to the channel, horror fans. Today we are diving into the latest installment of the franchise that made you fear log trucks, airplanes, LASIK eye surgery, anything and everything. Paranoia was through the roof during the early 2000s. And with that, I am talking about Final Destination. So for this review, we're going to do Final Destination Bloodlines. And I'm going to go ahead and warn you, there may be some spoilers in this video. I'm going to try my best to keep it as spoiler-free as possible, though. So Final Destination Bloodlines is the 6th film in the series, and if you're anything like me, you were a little skeptical when they said they were going to put out another one, because Final Destination 5 just ended on such a high note. Like, they disappeared with probably the best ending a film series could have had. So it really defined the early 2000s. Like, it was a different type of horror. It really played on paranoia. So it's no longer you have just a defined villain. Like, you had to fear everything around you. Fish hooks, light bulbs. I mean, the sweat off of a cup. Like, if you've never seen Final Destination, you're really going to want to go back and watch those. But I'm not going to spoil any of those either. Today, we're going to talk about Final Destination Bloodlines. So let's break it down and really find out, is it worth the watch, or is it just another comedic horror movie? So the story starts out by introducing us to a new protagonist, and she's having this nightmare. It's just recurring about her grandmother. And this nightmare, it's causing her not to be able to sleep, and she's starting to fail college, and she's runs home, starts asking her family, you know, hey, grandmother, like, where's she at? Why haven't we seen her? Because after grandma cheated death, she kind of went into hiding, and she passed down this, like, trauma to her kids, and you can see that it's played out. So it's generational trauma. She cheated death. She was always paranoid, expecting death to kill her, and I mean, she was doing pretty good. She spent decades hiding, and so this really just cascaded into her kids' life. So her kids were taken away from her, and her son kind of got to live mostly a normal life, but then the daughter, so our protagonist's mom, she kind of ended up in the same boat as the grandmother. She ended up, you know, leaving the family and thought that her paranoia was going to happen to her kids the same way it happened to hers. After our protagonist, she figures out where grandma's at. She goes to her and she starts telling her, hey, I'm having this vision, you know, it's you at Skyview, basically the Space Needle, but I don't really think they can call it the Space Needle, because if you want to call it that, then now you're getting a little too real here. So we don't want anybody afraid to go to a real place. But it turns out that her grandmother's like, yes, your dream that you're having is the same premonition I had back in the 50s or 60s. Her grandmother shows her this book and was like, look, you need to take this book. You need to live with me. You need to learn what's going to happen. What is death doing? And so she just thinks her grandmother's insane. She starts to leave. And then this is when things start to become Final Destination. I'm not going to spoil the deaths, but something happens after she tries to leave. Grandmother tries to give her the book. She runs away with the book. She does take the book with her. And now she's trying to explain to everybody in her family that this is generational killer. It's not just coming for the people who survived that incident back then. It's coming for everybody who is a descendant of those people. So she's found out that now her mom, her uncle, her cousins, her brother, and her, they're all on this list. This Final Destination is a little different than all the others. All the others is one person has a premonition, saves themselves and their friends from dying in whatever bizarre accident's going to happen. But now it's this one girl having a premonition that her grandmother had. We're not just dealing with these friends dying. We're talking about grandmother, kids, and then grandkids dying. It is a little different, but it was a good twist. In this movie, some of the deaths are kind of bizarre, but that's just Final Destination. Like, you can't escape that. If you go into this thinking it's going to be just another scary movie, like, with just normal deaths, no. This is very out there, and it's super entertaining to watch. I will say, if you're not a fan of extreme blood and gore, you might want to stay away from this one, because it is super bloody. compared to the previous movies in the series. The final deaths in the movie, they're a little over the top. It's a little extreme as to what happens. But if you've seen the other films, it's going to kind of pull at those nostalgia, heartstrings that you grew up with. And so you're going to notice it if you're a longtime fan. And speaking to that, if you are a fan, I know you've already went and watched it, or you're like, okay, I need to see this as soon as, it's out on a streaming service. But I would recommend going to the big screen and watching it. So I don't think this is just going to bring in the old fans. I think it's going to actually pull in new fans to the series, because it's been 14 years. So you're going to have people who weren't, quite old enough or something like that to watch the originals. So like my girlfriend actually went with me to watch this movie, and she'd never seen any of the Final Destination movies, but she loved it. She thought had a great experience with it. And then she wanted to go watch the previous 5. So since this movie came out on May 16th, that's what I've been doing, is watching the other 5 Final Destination movies. And I'm not going to spoil Final Destination 5 for you, but when they disappeared after making that, I honestly believed that was going to be the ending. They, wrapped everything up with a bow, and it was just a fantastic way for them to disappear. But here we are 14 years later. We finally got another installment. Overall, I recommend going and watching the movie, and you're going to have a great time. So anyways, thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon. That way you can get notified anytime I drop a video. And let me know in the comments if you went and watched it and what your favorite character death was. And so that's going to be all for me, and I will catch you next time.